How did all this start? The bad music, the annoying, endlessly processed vocals, the cultural and moral decay that we have seen in the 21st century. When did it start and how? With whom did it start? Because it sure hell didn't start with any of the, singers like Madonna or Whitney Houston or, I mean, even Mariah Carey. They all kind of use their, female, sexuality, their body, but never to such extent. Never did they sing about the stuff that this person or famous, very famous artist sang about. And their music really had its quality, certain quality. It lived up to, but when this artist entered the stage, everything changed slowly but surely. And our society started to really, crumble. I mean, in many ways. And so, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Britney Spears. Just ignore the other one, Christina. She was just, she rode that same wave, you might say. But even she, I mean, at first, if you remember her first album and her first videos, she was like, play that innocent little girl, kind of, you know, she played that image at first. But then she realized also, I guess, that she had to get dirtier. And she even released a single that became her first huge hit that was called Dirty. So yeah, there you have it. She had to sink down to the same level as Miss Spears, right? But yeah, I mean, I remember well when that first song, also famous song, hit all the charts and TV stations and everything, radio stations, baby, one more time. Yeah, that was in late '98, and I was like 20 years old still. Yes. I mean, I could see a change, I mean, pretty quickly after that in the way young girls dressed and young they behaved more and more in a, very cautious and lewd manner. Yeah. And after that, the videos and everything became just more and more about, uh, about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, sex. Well, yeah. So as I said before, there was only Madonna who was like, kind of playing on that kind of theme. But the problem is not the image so much, but I think the way it affected the music industry, because the songs, the artists, and the songs became just worse and worse in quality, in musical quality. There was no or very little musical quality, and it led to these overproduced, oversynthesized, songs and sound. It just took over completely in the 21st century. So yeah, it all started with Britney because she was so massively. I mean, she had one of the greatest starts ever to a career that you can have that we have seen. I mean, Madonna, she had to labor at first. She didn't have an easy start at all. She didn't start with a bang. at all, actually. And same goes for Whitney and Mariah and Celine, and everybody, Tina Turner, and yeah, all these women, all these kind of vixen women, and yeah, they had to labor more or less. But uh, Miss Britney Spears, she from the get-go, she achieved huge instant success, and this became also. Then we saw the emergence, pretty much because of this, I think, because of her, of the Idol, all that BS, American Idol, British Idol, whatever. And suddenly we started to see the birth of instant stars. They were no longer the same formula like before. Like you start slowly, you build yourself up, then you are a star. No, you are star, and instantly you are a big star. You get big hits, you earn big money and everything. You are get awards, and like Taylor Swift, for also the same thing. Everybody, Rihanna, you name it. I mean, they just instantly almost all pretty much became big. You know. So then, of course, this isn't good because it makes you, I guess, first of all, it goes to your head. Second, it makes you appreciate your what you have less because you achieve it too easily, right? When you really have to work hard for something. I'm not saying they really you just had a bowl, a picnic. Yeah, they had to practice their dancing moves and all that. Had to be in the studio sometimes all day. And yeah, well, cry me a river. There are far, far, far harder jobs than that. Anyway, yeah, it's just that it became so easy. As somebody said it, there was no longer nobody wanted to wait for the making of a star. Everybody, it was about instant gratification. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it all started with her, and later, of course, hadn't hadn't it been for Britney, there would never have been people like Rihanna, Taylor Swift, even Katy Perry to an extent. I mean, they would have never achieved the success they did. So they have a lot to thank her, to thank Britney, actually. And her team, her two producers, everything, everybody that stood behind her success. And yeah, because at the kind of, how to say, around the year 2000, the new millennium, boy bands were starting to, to fall out more and more. And by like 2003, 4, there were no really big. All of these bands, Backstreet Boys, and Sync, and all these Westlife, whatever, Boyzone, they were no longer there really. So everybody started focusing on solo careers. Also, Destiny's Child, even Beyonce started, yeah, doing her solo stuff. And yeah, she also, of course, one would be a fool to say that they didn't play on their sexuality, their looks, Destiny's Child. But yeah, I mean, still, they could never be as big as a white pop star, black R&B, stars. Because Britney is who she is. She became so big. I think in 1998, a black or any other color other than white wouldn't have a singer would never have achieved such an impact. No way. I mean, before her, yeah, you had Janet Jackson, for instance, but anyway, she also had to kind of like work a little harder, and she never achieved anything close to what Spears achieved, and those who followed her. Yeah, I mean, then later we got Rihanna, who was, who is what she is. She's not white, and others, Beyonce, of course, and but yeah, even them, I think, I don't know really. I don't want to turn this suddenly into a race thing. I mean, Beyonce herself has admitted recently that she is aware that had she been darker skinned, she would never have, gotten that far. Yeah, probably. Not back then, not in 2003 or something. No, no, no way. Today, yes, but back then, no. So anyway, Britney what became so big because she was white, she was American, she was, Southern girl, like, play a little on that image also good daddy's girl, with good values, but at the same time she had this rather, provocative, slutty image, let's call it. And yeah, it collided, those two, pretty much. But nobody gave a damn because everybody wanted a girl like that to be a huge star, Yeah. So, yeah, I think after that, that music just became worse and worse, and yeah, there was no more room for people, artists who were just good, at their songcraft and good singers and all that. If you didn't look good, didn't help, no matter how good you are, I mean now even Adele, I mean you've seen what happened. She had to even she lost a lot of weight recently. She now looks better than before. Yeah, she was kind of successful, but that was also in this time after 2010 when suddenly it became easier for people who didn't you know who weren't physically perfect to achieve popularity, success. But still, I mean, Adele, come on, Adele is Adele. She never got close to the status of Britney Spears, the teen goddess, Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is just a terrible time for music, and you see more and more people stealing, like older, songs, like really good songs from the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, also being copied and, sampled, by these rappers and all that. you know, I don't really, I'm not really fond of that either. Even though it is paying tribute to really good artists and so on, but still, yeah. Anyway, as I said, and what happened to Britney is what pretty much symptomatic to all everybody who gets too big. She had to crack sooner or later, and yeah, she did because there was her image was not herself. Her image was constructed. That was too obvious. Nothing she said publicly or did was what she herself wanted to say or do. I remember this acceptance speech where she held it. She it sounded so ridiculous, so childish. I was like, come on. you know, she was going on about cheese and crackers and stuff like that. Come on. This is not Nickelodeon for crying out loud. But yeah, I mean, her mother, she told her what she could say and what she couldn't say and what she could wear and not wear. Other people as well, I'm sure. And that's, sooner or later, there is gonna be a huge like breakdown and trying to out of that bubble that was created. It has blown up way too big, and especially for someone in that age, like when she was like, what was she, 25 or something? At the time, she had that big meltdown when she shaved her head, and yeah, she was 25. Yeah, but it became, I mean, it started before that, surely. So yeah, I mean, when we see it start constantly, but the worst thing is that with her, when she became so big, everybody like, I mean, not everybody, but it became so in to be kind of slutty and even bitchy to an extent, you know. I mean, like, for instance, today we got stars like Demi Lovato, who is really a bitch. I mean, no other words. She has proven that she's actually a bitch. But you know, her fans don't care about that, you know. And when I read that she actually called one of her fans a fatty on a live chat, you know, I was like, oh, for crying out loud, you know. I mean, this is what you're created, guys like, you know, Max Martin and all those guys, fucking producers who, I mean, he was behind Britney's biggest first hits, Backstreet Boys as well. So these people are all responsible for creation of this monster that is 21st century youth pop culture, which is really a hideous thing, I must say, a hideous thing. When you are suddenly supposed to be all like, you know, very, like a fucking poseur, so fucking flamboyant and, you know, just hideous. I mean, your everything about your appearance, your everything is supposed to be about, you know, how you want to get laid and, you know, score. And yeah, it's just despicable. I mean, look at, I mean, Leonard Cohen and Lou Reed, did they ever sing about getting laid or, you know, how good somebody looked in their jeans or whatever? It's terrible, really. It's despicable. Bob Dylan or, you know, all those guys, Neil Young, whatever. They would never have, you know, had that, accepted that image. And they became smaller and smaller. And not until like 2015 or something did they again kind of gain some kind of popularity. And yeah, I think by then people started to get, you know, tired of this bullshit, this pop culture that was all about like half naked women dancing in a, you know, some kind of tropical place maybe, or nightclub, whatever, and being very, you know, raunchy and yeah, exuberant, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it all started with Britney and it continued with Rihanna and yeah, people like her. Now we have Dua Lipa, who is really one of the worst examples of this slutty image in pop music. Really, I mean, Rita Ora isn't that much better, but Dua Lipa is really taking it to an extreme. I mean, I've seen her perform. She almost never performs in normal clothes now. She's like always, she looks like she just, you know, got up from bed, like she woke up wearing something really like transparent and, you know, oh man. So it's not stopping, it's only still going, getting even worse now. I mean, also Lady Gaga was for a long time responsible for playing the same game also, but I think now she's, you know, she has matured obviously, hopefully, and I kind of like her now. I didn't like her before because she wore all these, you know, very revealing outfits and was singing bullshit songs about, you know, whatever. What was that song called? Telephone or something rubbish. But yeah, I mean, she got better. with age, like fine wine. And there is a hope that some of these anyway, women singers can, yeah, do the same. I mean, on the male side, we also had Justin Timberlake. Interestingly, there were no male pop stars that were as big as Britney in the early 2000s, So the only thing we had like that came close was her own boyfriend or ex-boyfriend Timberlake, yeah. But he never really, quite cracked the market as she did, you know. So yeah, that it was clear that it was about female body, female sexuality, all that stuff. That was gonna be the new god, let's call it that in pop music. Yeah, I mean you had it before, but not to such an extent as I said. No, not really. It was just being toyed with before. You might say in the 80s, first the 70s, maybe Donna Summer, and then the 80s also Madonna, Tina Turner, and 90s you had Mariah Carey. But then in the by 98 it had become perfected. So yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, but it's not as I said about just about the images, mostly about the music getting worse, the quality really dropping considerably. All right, that was it. Bye.